Hello, and I'm Skaven969. I play these cards so you don't have to. And today, we're going to be talking about Glissa the Traitor. This is one of the older Scars of Mirrodin cards, legendary creature zombie elf, for 3 mana, 3/3, first strike death touch, 1 black mana, 2 green mana for a zombie elf. And she has, whenever a creature an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. So let's see what exactly that means. The first card is Abomination of Llanowar. 3 cost, stars, Vigilance, Menace, and Abomination of Llanowar's power and toughness are equal to the number of elves you control plus the number of elves in your graveyard. We're going to have a lot of creatures dying. This is a green-black deck, so a lot of recursion in the graveyard. This is one of the cards to benefit from that. Yes, it is. It's a low-cost creature, elf horror. And our next card is Argentum Masticore. So this will be one of our artifact creatures. It is a Phyrexian Manticore. It's not a very common archetype. As we have a 5 for 5/5 first strike protection from multicolored. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice it unless you discard a card. When you discard a card this way, destroy target artifact, non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana cost equal to or less than the value of the discarded card. So this is building up the graveyard. If you can't pay for its cost, that's completely fine because Glissa herself will return it from the graveyard to hand. But the most important thing is the destruction effect. Destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls is basically a kill spell. When a creature an opponent controls is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return target artifact. This would be one of the cards to help bring back the artifacts. Here we have Beast Whisperer, Elf Druid, one of the strongest elf cards ever printed, very recently. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. It's important to know that this is one of the quintessential elf cards, not because it's a 2/3 for 4, but because it will always draw you cards, and in elf tribal, it's even better. Here we have Canopy Tactician. It's an elf warrior, of course. Your other elves get +1/+1. It's a 3/3 for 4, and it taps to add 3 green mana. Just another way for elves to recur and have a lot of mana to spend. What you would be spending this mana on might be Dwinnen, the Gilt-Leaf Dane. For 4, she's a 3/4 with reach. Other elves you control get +1/+1. Again, a lot of anthem effects. And whenever she attacks, gain 1 life for each attacking elf. For a green-black deck, this does have a lot of life gain. We have Elf Replica. This is a linchpin. This might be one of the most important cards, just because it is artifact creature elf. Pay 2, sacrifice it, destroy target enchantment. Simple, but with the ability to recur it, the fact that it is an elf, it is a huge boon for most elf decks, and especially for an elf artifact deck. Here's a classic deck card of a Elf of Deep Shadow, a green card that produces black mana, but it does deal 1 damage to you. Just another Findhorn elves or Llanowar elves to add to the deck. This one producing the black mana you desperately need. Here we have Elvish Archdruid. Again, super strong elf anthem. Taps to add green for each elf you control, and it gives +1/+1 for each elf. Already we have 3 anthems, giving all the elves all the power they need. Elves are incredibly recursive. And another one, Elvish Champion. All elves get +1/+1 and Forest Walk. Forest Walk, wow. Who isn't playing green mana for ramp? Obviously, if you're fighting your opponent who's a white-red equipment deck, Forest Walk's not going to be that helpful, but having so many anthems in this deck, like Elvish Clancaller, is just going to keep making more cards stronger. Your entire army is going to be buffed. Now her effect to pay 6 and tap her to search for another Elvish Clancaller. Not relevant. But Farhaven Elf. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land, usually a swamp because you already have the forest. And that's it. That's all it needs to do. Searches for a land, puts it in the battlefield tap, shuffle your library. This is one of the cards to discard. This is one of the cards you want in your graveyard. Swamp Walk. Creature Incarnation. 4 mana, 2/2. Its name is Filth. It has a little symbol up here to show that it's a tombstone, meaning it does something in the graveyard. As long as Filth is in your graveyard and you control a swamp, creatures you control have Swamp Walk. Wow. Now you have Forest Walk or Swamp Walk. Useful. Very, very useful. It'll come in handy when Frontier Guide. You pay 4, tap it, search your library for a basic land card and put it on the battlefield tapped. Shuffle your library. With the amount of mana we're using, we're going to need to sort out the deck. Pulling as many lands out of the deck as possible is exactly how this deck wins. You need to have less cards in the deck, meaning every card you pull is going to be useful. Here we have Findhorn Elder. For 3 mana, it produces 2. Pretty cool, but there's better rate at this time in Magic. But the ability to produce 2 mana, never sneeze at it. You always want to have more creatures on the field. And, of course, it applies to the Llanowar Abomination. It gets buffed by all the other anthems. Guiltleaf Winnower, being one of the black elves for 5 mana. It's a 4/3 with Menace. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-elf creature with powers and toughness aren't equal. Whose power and toughness aren't equal. So, if the power is different from the toughness, it kills it? So it's not saying they have to be the same. Yeah, they can't be the same as this 4/3. Destroy target non-elf creature whose power and toughness aren't equal. Weird way of wording it, but it's essentially killing a 5/3. Gnarl Root Trapper is a 1-cost 1/1. Pay 1 life and tap it. Add green to your mana pool. Spend it only to cast elf creature spells. There's a lot of elves. Tap it. Target elf gets Death Touch until the end of turn. Another useful card to make sure your Llanowar Abomination or another big creature is always attacking. Plus, maybe your Argentum Armor attacks, it dies. You can still bring it back with Glissa. Here we have Golgari Guildmage. 2 mana for a 2/2. We all know what the Guild Mages do, but for 5 mana, it sacrifices a creature, return target creature from your graveyard to your hand, or pay 5, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature. You're not really going to use the +1/+1 ability until late in the game when you have all your mana outlets, but being able to sacrifice a creature and return one of your more important creatures is why it's here. Green-black having great recursion. Here's another version of the Findhorn Elders, being Greenweaver Druid. Slightly better art, I would consider it, but it's a 3-cost 1/1. Produces 2 green mana. Very, very fun, very useful. Here we have Imperious Perfect, one of the strongest Lorwyn cards, that'd be the right word. Lorwyn effects of elves are very strong. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1. Pay 1 green, tap itself, put a 1/1 elf warrior into the battlefield. Very, very strong, builds up an army. Slow, but sure. Jagged Scar Archers for your anti-air effect. It has power and toughness equal to the number of elves you control, and you can tap it. Deals damage equal to its power to target creature with flying. Not only are the anthems buffing it, but every elf is buffing it, so it's doubling down. Your opponent's flying creatures not going to be happy with this. Here we have Jiraga Warcaller. This is more of an overrun kind of effect because it has multi-kicker. You pay 1, it's a 1/1 creature, and he enters the battlefield for a +1/+1 counter for each time it was kicked. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1 equal to the number of +1 for each +1/+1 counter on Jiraga. Zendikar had a great effect of snowballing your elves and then, or wolves or whatever token production, and then playing this guy for 5, give them +2/+2. Very, very strong. Here we have Lathril, Blade of the Elves. So this is kind of a secret commander. This is an incredibly strong card. Most people play Lathril over Glissa, but you're going to be able to play Lathril more often than Glissa in this deck, only because green and black are such great searchers. Having Lathril in the deck makes her more playable than having her as a commander, because you don't want to pay commander tax. You'd rather bring her back and recur her with Golgari Guildmage. So she has Menace. Whenever Lathril, Blade of Elves deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 elves. And tap 10 untapped elves you control. Each opponent loses 10 life and you gain 10 life. They put Sorin's Vengeance on a card. And here we have Llanowar Dead. Zombie elf, tap it to add black to your mana. It's not hurting you, it's for 2 mana, so it's definitely at rate. And here we have Lissalana Huntmaster. For 4, it's a 3/3. Whenever you play an elf spell, you may put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature into play. Wow. Just all the different elves you're playing, all the time, forever. Recurring them brings in a lot of creatures. Now, of course, there's better cards at rate now, but these are one of the originals. Marwyn, the Nurturer, legendary elf druid. Whenever another elf enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on her. Add green mana equal to her power. So she's 1/1, tap her, she creates 1 mana. But every elf after will make her more powerful. Very easy to get snowballing, and of course, again, Golgari Guildmage giving her +1/+1 counters. Or playing another card will give her bonus power. Here we have another Manticore. Oh, this is Masticore. Molten Tail Masticore. For 4, it's a 4/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Molten Tail Masticore unless you discard a card. So this is just hand destruction. Pay 4, exile a creature card from your graveyard. Molten Tail Masticore deals 4 damage to target creature or player. Very, very effective. And for 2, regenerate it. So, sure, you exile a creature from your graveyard, but this is a finite game. Your resources are important, so having an ability to deal 4 damage to target creature or player at any time you need, that's what makes this very, very important. Of course, the regenerating artifact creature means it'll kill stuff, it'll fight for you, and if you need to get it back, you can always get it back with Glissa, including any cards you discard with it, like Priest of Titania. One of the strongest elf cards ever, because when you tap it, add your mana pool for each elf. Wow. So just itself adds 1. Other elves, for each elf, adds 1 more mana. Incredibly powerful card. It will snowball. People will try to kill this immediately. That's why you want to make sure you have resources to play it, and play it often. Like Razormane Masticore. This card being a 5 mana cost 5/5, first strike. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Razormane Masticore unless you discard a card from your hand. Very, very nice to have more cards filling up the graveyard so that you can use Glissa's effect or other recursions, because we're treating our graveyard like a second hand. At the beginning of your draw step, you may have Razormane Masticore deal 3 damage to target creature. So this is essentially bolting anything you need, and the art is just fucking awesome. Your Reclamation Sage being one of the most effective cards you can have in the deck. Elf Shaman that enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment. You don't really need Naturalize when you have one of these guys. Here's Rise the Exiled. Kind of obligatory because he is a green-black elf. He's 3 cost, 3/2 legendary elf warrior, but when he attacks, gain 1 life for each elf you control. We saw that ability before, and pay a black, sacrifice an elf, regenerate him. Nice to have an effect that just recurs naturally. Now we have Ruthless Winnower. Elf Rogue. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, the player sacrifices an on-elf creature. Sure, you might sacrifice your Masticore, but like I said, your graveyard is a second hand. Your Glissa the Traitor is trying to recur as much as she can, so when a creature dies, you get an artifact back. Seed Guide Ash being one of the creatures you don't mind sacrificing. When Seed Guide Ash is put into a graveyard from play, you may search your library for up to 3 forest cards, put them into play tapped, and if you do, shuffle your library. For sure, 5 mana for a 4/4 Tree Folk Druid is not your favorite card, but the ability to bring back 3 lands and have a body and its fodder is incredibly useful. Overall, it'll do a lot more work than it puts out. Here we have Sky Shroud Ranger. So this is part of the deck style where if you have a bunch of cards in hand or a bunch of land in hand, you don't need it. So Sky Shroud Ranger will put those lands into play for you. Tap it, choose a land card in your hand and put it into play. Play this ability as a sorcery. Here we have Steel Leaf Champion for all that green mana. He can be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and with all the abilities of Anthem buffing, he gets even stronger, being a 3-cost 5/4. Not many elves are knights, but here we have a Zombie Assassin. For 3, tap, sacrifice a creature, destroy target non-black creature. For sure, I could have this in Thraxamunder, but this is more useful. To tap, sacrifice a creature, one of your many ubiquitous elves or anything that's useless, and destroy target non-black creature, which will trigger Glissa's effect. That is why it's here. Essentially, it's another targeted destroy. Here we have Sylvan Ranger, card you might not need after it's in play, so it's one of those cards you can sacrifice. When Sylvan Ranger enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library, helping with all that mana that you need in the later game. Here we have all creatures able to block Taunting Elf do so. It's a 1-cost 0/1. They already have another elf that does this effect in later date, but this is the OG. This is the one that he's so weak, he's a 0/1, but he guarantees that the rest of the board is free to kill the opponent. Another overrun style effect. This is one of the newer cards in the deck, Varus Silvery Moon Ranger. Reach, Ward, Elf, Human Elf Ranger, 3/3. Whenever you cast a creature or Planeswalker spell, venture into the dungeon. This ability triggers only once each turn. Whenever you complete a dungeon, create a 2/2 wolf creature token. I'm really underwhelmed. Yes, all the effects are great. It's just another example of complexity. Does it need to venture into the dungeon? I don't care. What I do care about is Viridian Emissary. He wants to go to the graveyard. He wants to be attacking. He's a 2-cost 2/1 Elf Scout. When Viridian Emissary is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle your library. Straight from the graveyard to a land into play tapped. That is his effect. Viridian Joiner being one of the other elves that makes a lot of mana. Add mana of green equal to Viridian Joiner's power. So Viridian Joiner only has 1 power, just like Morrowind, but as he grows stronger with all the Anthem effects, he will produce more mana. Well-Wisher, once again, that mana life, that life gain effect, that tap and gain a life for each elf on the battlefield, or when you want to have all those other elves attacking and gaining life, this is another elf that's helping you buff your life total. And here we have Wolverine Riders, one of the newer cards from that specific Lathril deck. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. Whenever another elf enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to its toughness. For a black deck, once more, we're gaining a lot of life. Most of it is green, but it helps feed the black mana. Here we have Wood Elves. Wood Elves comes into play. Search your library for a forest card, put that card into play, then you shuffle your library. And you're noticing a lot of put it straight into your hand, put it straight into the battlefield, because we don't have that many, but we do have forest, 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 forest. This would be a good time to say that you should never stop questioning why the Epstein list isn't out yet, because it's really weird that people would, here we have forests, here we have swamps, And it's really weird that people on both sides of the aisle, Democrat, Republican, are not fighting tooth and nail to have it revealed. And Wirewood Lodge. Add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool and pay green, tap, untap target elf. Untap target elf. Wow. How useful. And if you were wondering why Filth was in the deck, here we go. We don't have that many swamps, but we do have Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Each land is a swamp in addition to its other land types. Very, very effective. Myriad Landscape to help thin out your swamps or islands. Comes in a battlefield tapped, produces colorless, but you can pay 2 mana to crack it, and you search for up to 2 basic land types that share a land type. 2 basic lands that share a land type. Here is Jungle Hollow. Just comes in the battlefield tapped, gains you a life, very simple. Grim Backwoods. Something most green-black decks use. If you have the leftover mana, very fun to just sacrifice a creature and draw a card, but don't think it's always going to trigger. This is so rare that it's going to be useful, and when you need it, it's more so a sack outlet. Whenever you need something to just quickly get you a card when you have an extra token, this is what it's for. Or the moment the opponent's going to kill one of your cards and gain a very powerful effect or target one of your cards, sack it, draw a card. For 4 mana, sure, but with elves you gain a lot of mana. Here's Guiltleaf Palace. If you have an elf in your hand, it's untapped. Foul Orchard comes into play tapped. I don't know why it's an uncommon, but that's how they do. Deathcap Glade, and of course all lands are simply versatile. They're utilities, you can do anything with them. You can have Cabal Coffers if you want. It's not necessary. It just adds 2, pay 2, tap it, add 1 black for each swamp you control. So it's pretty useful if you have Urborg. It's not necessary. Now this is one of the artifacts that you might recur quite often. Traveler's Amulet. Sacrifice Traveler's Amulet, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it to your hand, shuffle your library. This is an interesting effect just because Glissa, being the ability she is to search for cards, means you don't need that many lands in the deck. What you do need is a way to make sure you have lands and always have lands. This is one of those effects. Search your library for a basic land card, put it into your hand, shuffle your library. So you only need about 2 lands in your opening hand, 3 lands in your opening hand. And with a Traveler's Amulet, that's essentially another land. And a recurring land, thanks to Glissa the Traitor. We don't have any Terramorphic expanses, but we do have the Cauldron of Eternity for 10 and 2 black mana. It costs 2 less for each creature in your graveyard, so it could be just 2 black mana. And it says, whenever a creature you control dies, put it at the bottom of the owner's library. Pay 3, tap it, pay 2 life. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate this ability anytime you could cast a sorcery. So all that graveyard recursion, all the times your creatures died, you don't mind because they are coming back at a cheaper cost. And I really like the Black Cauldron of this. This is an excellent reference. Very, very cool. And we need to protect our stuff. It has First Strike, Death Touch. Why not give it Hexproof and Haste? Or any of your elves' Haste. The ability to come into play and tap immediately for mana, or a lot of mana, that's what Swift Boots is for. And of course, Stoneforge Masterwork. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control that shares a creature type with it. It's like it's an anthem for just one creature, but boy is it strong. It'd be nice if it gave it indestructible, but hey, 3 mana for how many +1/+1? Very, very good. And here's Skull Clamp. Because you're having 1/1 tokens, why not play a Skull Clamp? Why not let the creatures you are going to let die and have Skull Clamp draw you 2 more cards? Glissa doesn't mind cards being destroyed. If Skull Clamp gets destroyed, it's not a big deal because she brings it back. Now we have The Serpent Soul Jar. Not really in flavor with elves, but I guess Kaldheim really wanted snakes and elves to be a thing, so whenever an elf you control dies, exile it, pay 2 life, tap it. Until the end of turn, you may cast a creature spell from among exiled with Serpent Soul Jar. So whatever it exiles, tap this, pay 2 life, play it again. Very, very useful. Nice recursion. So there's more than one artifact trying to bring back creature cards. This being Lore Seeker Stone for 6. Pretty hefty cost, but it does draw 3 cards. This ability costs 1 more to activate for each card in your hand. Obviously, for 3, draw 3. Very good. Any more than that, it's going to be more expensive. But your elves are going to snowball and keep getting more and more cards into play, so you can keep having more cards to draw. Now we have Hedron Archive for 4. It adds 1 mana, it adds 2 mana to your mana pool, and for 2 mana you can sacrifice Hedron Archive and draw 2 cards. So you can see why it's in the deck. It's definitely another card to help thin it out, draw 2 cards, or produce mana when you need it. Because Executioner's Capsule is our recurring kill card. Pay 1 black mana for an artifact, and then pay 1 and any black. Sacrifice it, tap it, Executioner's Capsule, destroy target non-black creature. Well, it's just cool. It's just really neat to have an artifact that's a kill spell. I really like it. It's an interesting design. It always is the moment of trepidation of opening a message capsule, for the judgment might be contained within. So what's it trying to convey? I think it's from Alara. So in Alara, they would use these as for espers or grixis. No, it'd probably be espers. And they would secretly kill each other? That's fucked up. Here we have Dreamstone Hedron. For 3, for 6, it produces 3 mana, and you can pay 3, tap it, sacrifice Dreamstone to draw 3 cards. Pretty symmetrical with the last one. And here we have Coat of Arms, like the Masterwork except for every creature. Here we have one of the strongest cards ever printed, Bow of Nylea. For 3 mana, attacking creatures you control have Death Touch. That'd be good on its own, but it also has pay 2 and choose 1. Put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control, or on a target creature, but usually it's one you control. Or it deals 2 damage to target creature with flying, or you gain 3 life, or put 4 target cards from your graveyard to the bottom of your library in any order. All 4 effects are good. Even gaining 3 life is good. Dealing 2 damage to a flyer is good. You can ping something. It's the Jagged Scar Archer when you don't have it, but even better. And of course, as an artifact, if it gets destroyed, Glissa brings it back. What Diabolic Servitude does is take a creature from your graveyard, put it into play, and if Diabolic Servitude is ever destroyed, the creature is removed, and you would rather have Diabolic Servitude's creature die, so that's Diabolic Servitude recurs back to your hand, because if Diabolic Servitude ever gets destroyed itself, the recursion stops. Next is Death Reap Ritual. Morbid, at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you may draw a card. So these effects kind of lead into each other. Glissa always wanting creatures to die, Death Reap Ritual being a reward when those creatures die. Now we have the Crown of Skemfar, Enchantment Aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each elf you control and has reach. Pay 3, return Crown of Skemfar from your graveyard to your hand. So a lot of graveyard recursion, recurring buff for all your creatures. Here we have Burgeoning. Whenever an opponent plays a land, you may play a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Yes, this deck is rather land short, but it does mean you will have the advantage of lands because you're just getting rid of all the lands you need. You will have to have Beastmaster's Ascension to truly make the deck work. Whenever a creature you control attacks, put a quest counter on it As long as it has 7 or more quest counters, creatures you control get +5/+5. With elves, this gets incredibly quick. So you're attacking with 2 creatures. All you need to do is attack with 5 more. Now all of them are 5/5s once you've attacked. And just the act of attacking will put the counters on, meaning if you mathematically do it right, you only need to attack once or twice, or even once, to get the bonus. Very, very good. And of course, one of my favorite kill spells, Dismember, pay 1 mana, lose 4 life. Target creature gets -5/-5, or you can reduce each 2 life you pay for a black mana. Here we have Reincarnation. Once more, the whole circle of life and death, bringing back creatures that you need and don't need. Choose target creature. When that creature dies this turn, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield under the control of that creature's owner. Funny way of wording it, but it's basically when a creature's about to die, use Reincarnation. You'll be bringing back a creature once that creature dies. 3 cost graveyard recursion for green. Here we have Freyalise, Llanowar's Fury for 5. Comes into play with 3 loyalty counters. +2, put a 1/1 green elf druid into play with so it makes a mana producing elf. -2, destroy target artifact or enchantment. And -6, draw a card for each green creature you control. Very, very cool. Vraska. Until the next turn, destroy whatever attacks her. Pay -3, destroy target non-land permanent. -7, put 3 1/1 black assassins. Whenever this creature deals damage to a player, the player loses the game. I think there was a way to make sure that oh yeah, with Swamp Walk, right? So if your assassins have Swamp Walk, you just attack your opponent and win the game. Oh, that's pretty useful. So here's Nissa Ravine. She's pretty good. Yeah, there's a boob window on there. +1, search your library for a card named Nissa's Chosen. Put it on the battlefield. +1, gain 2 life for each elf you control. That's the one you're going to use. -7, search your library for any number of elf creatures. Put them on the battlefield. Shuffle your library. So it takes a while to get to her +7. So just keep gaining life. Here we have Vastwood Surge for 4 mana plus a kicker for 4. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. If this spell was kicked, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. So for elves, this is a huge boon. This is just another great ability to make sure your board is stronger. Now we have Sorin's Vengeance. And I feel like this card could have been brought out later, but it is one of the finishers. You need to make sure that you're dealing 10 damage and gaining 10 life back. Killing someone with this is incredibly important. Now we have Rishkar's Expertise. For 6, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. That'll be pretty easy. You may cast a spell with mana value 5 or less from your graveyard or from your hand without paying its mana cost. I'm so used to the graveyard of recursions, but all the cards are usually less than 6 mana. So all those weak elves, all those cheap elves, even one of your more expensive elves, they're usually under 6 mana. This will help bring it out. Plus a lot of card draw. You're guaranteed to draw a card that you can play later with this effect. Repay in Kind. This is the combo with Sorin's Vengeance. Everyone's life total's low. Your life total's low. Doesn't matter. Everyone's life total becomes the lowest life total among all players. Then you Sorin's Vengeance them. Here we have Profane Command, which is, you can use it as a kill spell. You can use it as an overrun because it has so many good effects. Choose 2. Target player loses X life. Return target creature card with converted mana cost X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Target creature gets -X until end of turn. And up to X target creatures gain fear until the end of turn. All the effects are useful. There's no downside. And here we have something you might not have known. Primal Growth. Kicker. Sacrifice a creature. Search your library for basic land card. put it into place and shuffle your library after. If you paid the kicker cost, instead search your library for 2 basic land cards, put them into play, and shuffle your library. So they're not even tapped if you paid the kicker cost. You just get 2 mana for 3 mana. Glissa's Renewal. For 6, search your library for up to 3 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, tapped, and then shuffle your library. Gain 7 life. Easily one of the better card searches for mana, because not only does it give you +3 mana for 6, but it also gains you 7 life, which is actually kind of useful. Mutilate for your Urborg. All creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn for each swamp you control. Then we have Morbid Curiosity. As an additional cost to cast Morbid Curiosity, sacrifice an artifact or a creature. Draw cards equal to the converted mana cost of the sacrificed permanent, so more power for card draw. Jared's Orders. Now this, people complain about tutors. Fuck them. You want to use Jared's Orders, search your library up to 2 creature cards, reveal them, put one into your hand, doesn't matter which one, and the other into your graveyard. You want to put filth into your graveyard. Then shuffle your library. That's what it's for. In Garruk's Wake for 9 mana, destroy all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you don't control. Just nice to have to make sure that you're going to win out the game. And it's not always about winning, it's about playing your best. So, to help play your best, Elvish Promenade. Put a 1/1 elf green warrior creature into play for each elf you control. Of course, Beacon of Unrest, another great card, because it is recurring. It is a put target artifact or creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Shuffle the beacon into its owner's library. It's very powerful. It's a infinite ability to recur your creatures. And the last card we're going to be talking about, Mary's Guile. For 1 green, during your upkeep, you may look at the top 3 cards of your library and put them back in any order. It's not exactly scry, but it is making sure that the cards you draw are there when you need them. Looking at the top 3 and putting them and rearranging them so that you can draw the right one, very, very useful.